Hi, I'm Alana Hippensteel from Pharmacy Times, and joining me is Dennis O'Neill, President and Board Member of Biomedican, to discuss the new frontier of biosynthesis therapeutics utilizing psychedelics and rare cannabinoids. So, Dennis, what progress has been made in the psychedelic medicine market since we last spoke on the subject in April?
It's been quite amazing. It's Capitalism is falling in love with psychedelics. There is this gold rush of investment and hundreds of millions of dollars just in the last year. There's 28 clinical trials that are currently going on. There are 25 companies in the space, six which are public. And so the great race is on to see who's able to deliver the best results, using psychedelics. Obviously some of these clinical trials won't go well, and then there will be some that will deliver, in my opinion, just outstanding results, and that will open the doors for more capital, more access, bigger markets. And I think that Biomedicaine has a scientist on their team that has successfully biosynthesized psilocybin. So Biomedicaine is working on through R&D on biosynthesizing psilocybin, DMT, mescaline, and other psychedelics, so that they're able to produce a higher quality, lower cost, product to the market. But all in all, the great race is on.
Yeah, it's incredibly exciting, especially due to the great need that we have right now for
Yeah,
mental
yeah,
health care. Um,
yeah. There's a mental health epidemic. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. What does the biosynthesis and cannabinoid production market look like today?
Well, it's actually booming. This market, according to the Raymond James analyst, is expected to reach $25 billion by 2025, which will make it the biosynthesized cannabinoid market the fastest growing market in the world. There are about 12 companies in the space at varying degrees of development. Some of them have rushed into the market with very poor technology, hoping that they will save themselves by getting into the market early, because they have bad technology. It's their cost and quality are significantly higher than what will ultimately be what they'll ultimately be competing against. But I mean, there's a couple of major problems in this market as well.
Okay.
All other companies, other than Biomedicaine, have very low yields. And low yields means when you're doing biosynthesis, that means your production costs are very high.
Okay.
So currently Biomedicaine has 5% dry cell mass yields. We're expected to be able to produce any rare cannabinoid for less than $1 a gram. And most of the competitors are at probably $5 to $12 a gram. The reason for this is that many of these technologies cannot produce a libitolic acid,
Hmm.
which is the key compound to be able to produce cannabinoids. And so what they have to do is they have to buy a libitolic acid from wholesalers, and that drives their costs up anywhere between $3 to $7 a gram before they apply their technology. So and then the third part is that many of these companies are violating patents either by Biomedicaine or Aurora Cannabis for producing a libitolic acid, because these are the only two companies that have patents to produce a libitolic acid using Yariol leptolytica, which is a very specialized yeast. So by all accounts, at this stage, there are companies going into large scale production. The demand seems to be epidemic across the board throughout consumer packaging companies, beverage companies that would like to add these cannabinoids because of their health benefits, cosmetics companies. So it's going to be in cereals, it's going to be in granola, it's going to be in protein bars, you're going to start to see this everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I know there's been a lot of focus on CBD and its potential therapeutic benefit for a multitude of health concerns, but a bit less focus on some other rare cannabinoids that may also pose some therapeutic value. Has there been
Sure.
research to date that has clearly demonstrated the therapeutic value or potential therapeutic value of some other rare cannabinoids besides CBD?
Yeah. Well, obviously CBD's had 16 clinical trials on it. There's probably over 100 ongoing now. So they're at the beginning stages of validating some of the health claims and benefits that they have. These rare cannabinoids show up in minute amount in these CBDs. So when you're looking at, the two that we're focused on, which is CBG. CBG has been around since the early 70s. There's been over 22 clinical trials done on them.
Okay.
So there is quite a bit of evidence and data, proving out at least some of the claims that they're making. There are dozens of additional clinical trials that are going on now that will give additional validation. On THCV, which is another one that we're focused on, there have been over 20 clinical trials that have happened over the past couple of decades. Over a dozen over the past couple of decades. There are another 20 or so going on now. The idea here is that kind of like CBD, at first there was no data, but people that were taking it were receiving benefits, health benefits from it, and then from there, it was proven out through science that the results were real. So I think that, like in all markets, you start off with anecdotal evidence, people that take it because that they're getting results. There is some early clinical data on both on some of these rare cannabinoids. And then as we get more and more data, it'll just make the claims significantly more concrete.
Right, right, absolutely. So you're talking about CBG and also CBGA. So
Yep.
what are the differences between those two, and how are they different from CBD?
Well, CBG, CBGAI are very similar. Most of the people in the market most people convert CBGA into CBG because it has the best health benefits. And, CBD, I mean, obviously the proven results in this market, the strongest scientific evidence for its effectiveness for CBDs has been, on the cruelest of diseases. It's childhood epilepsy syndrome, Dravet syndrome, Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. So, so that's the only thing that's been really proven out with CBD. There are other things that they claim that has not been proven out so much, like anxiety, depression, and things of that sort. But with CBG, what the known health benefits are, I mean, CBG is a compound, from the cannabis plant that is very, very similar to CBG is very similar to CBD in both chemical structure and effects, except that CBG has better and more specific health benefits. What the known health benefits for CBG works to fight inflammation, pain, nausea. It works to slow the proliferation of cancer cells. Research has shown that it significantly reduces inocular eye pressure caused by glaucoma. And strains high in CBG can be beneficial in treating inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, cancer, and it does have some significant benefits for treating anxiety.
That's fascinating.
So that is what's known to date as the health benefits. Some of these claims have been proven. Some of these are yet to have you would consider to be the concrete clinical data that you would need to go into the pharmaceutical markets, where these are more nutraceutical claims than they are pharmaceutical claims.
Right, right. Um, and so, how might CBG be used as a treatment for patients, and what would be the process? Would this be readily available? Would this be coming through pharmacies? What's the thought process around that?
Yeah, well, it depends on what markets that you're in. I mean, right now it's an over the counter nutraceutical because the CBG does not have any psychoactivity.
Okay,
So it is, so it has zero THC in it. At least the strains that we produce, and basically it's used to help treat anxiety, glaucoma, Crohn's disease, cancer, any type of inflammation in the body that causes you inflammation and pain. That's where it's basically used. As we start going into the pharmaceutical market, then it will be completely a complete different animal, which will be based upon the clinical data. I mean, we're going into the Mexican market or the Mexico market, and this will be sold over the counter and behind the pharmacies, because we're expected that we will get large government orders to be able to distribute this through the hospitals
right.
as a treatment.
Yeah, that's amazing. Um, and for THCV or THCA, how are these compounds different from THC?
Well, I'm not a scientist, but I know that THCV and THCV, it's actually, I made a mistake here. It's THCV and THCVA.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So basically, what this is well known for is it, and one of the biggest selling points why people like to take it is that it's an appetite suppressant. So a lot of people that like to do intermittent fasting, this is like very, very high on their list of things that they're looking for. And it also helps for people with obesity and diabetes because it helps regulate your sugar. And for people that have a problem with insulin, that their body won't process it properly, it helps you process insulin, so that it doesn't suppress it. So it's also used to reduce for PSTD, for panic attacks. That's one of the known benefits. Um, and it's also it's because that this is a neuroprotected. It actually gets back through the membranes or the cells in the brain. It's known to help reduce um, the your ability to get Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease. So this is one of the it's basically it's Alzheimer's. It helps control tremors, motor control, brain lesions, and it seems that all those are significantly improved by taking THCV. Um, and obviously these are nutraceutical claims now, but they will be clinical pharmaceutical claims once they're proven out.
Okay.
One of the big benefits is that it stimulates bone growth.
Oh,
It promotes the growth of new bone cells, and it's for osteoporosis and other bone related conditions. This can significantly help alleviate some of those health issues.
got it. Got it. That is really interesting. Specifically, interesting. I didn't know about the potential use for diabetes and sugar modulation, or is that?
Yeah. It regulates the sugar and how it's intaked, and some of these diabetics they have a resistance to insulin.
Got it. Okay.
So their body builds a resistance to insulin. So even when you do give them insulin, it's still not behaving the way or benefiting the way that it's supposed to.
Okay.
So it's definitely some doors into being able to naturally heal from some very, very, you know, bad diseases.
Yeah. In terms of kind of where the trials are any of these trials kind of assessing THCV or THCVA? Are they in phase one, phase two, phase three? Any of those kinds of? Um,
Yeah, most of them that I have seen so far are in phase 1 and 2. I think there's a couple in phase 3, but what they're doing when you do the clinical trials, you you get very, very narrow in what you're focusing on. Yeah, I
got
mean, you wouldn't dare try to do all these. You would try to do one, you would try to either do the diabetes or the obesity, or you would do the Alzheimer's or the PSTD. So, each one of these are taking on their own path to what specific um, condition that that they're going through the clinical trials through to try to prove out what benefit if it has, and then to what degree the benefit is.
right.
But yeah, the money's pouring in to do these trials because people see that these are tremendously large markets. They could be significantly disrupted. And if you could get people off insulin, that would be a huge winner.